Hey, this is Daniel, and I'm going electric for the average person. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I'm going on a cold weather road trip from Chicago out to San Francisco through Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and the Sierra Nevada. So come along for the ride and let's see how easy or how hard it is to drive your Tesla Model Y through cold weather. Welcome back, and I am coming to you from the future. I am coming from the end of day 2, and early morning day 2 Daniel doesn't know that I'm talking to you. Now, I am driving a 2020 Tesla Model Y with 20-inch wheels and all-season tires. I am not driving on winter tires. And half of you are going to think I'm crazy for driving across Iowa the day after a blizzard, and the other half of you are going to think the roads aren't nearly as bad as I say they are. But early morning day 2 Daniel doesn't know any of this. So enjoy the video and let's see how it goes. Welcome back and good morning from day 2 in Iowa City, Iowa. There was a nice little blizzard last night and it's 15 degrees out, so this is definitely going to be a winter trip. Day 1 was a combination of driving from Chicago to Northern Illinois to visit my parents for a couple days, and then from Northern Illinois all the way out to Iowa City. That was about 220 miles. So that section was pretty easy. Now, it was cold. The temperatures range from about minus 10 Fahrenheit up to 10 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in the video about super cold weather efficiency. And we're going to see today in Iowa City, it's about 15 degrees and it's supposed to warm up to around freezing along my route from Iowa City out to Cheyenne, Wyoming. I may not make it that far. I'm going to drive till sunset. Maybe I'll end up somewhere in western Nebraska. So it will be interesting to see how the car handles in this type of weather. Before getting on the road this morning, I have started preconditioning my car. That takes a good chunk of energy, and I'm not connected to electricity charging, so my battery's probably going to go down by several percentage points getting the car ready, but it's kind of what you got to do to get that battery nice and warm, ready for your trip, and then to warm that interior. I'm now going to see if I can get into the car without the windows being frozen. Those frameless drop-down windows do freeze on occasion, and I had that happen to me in Illinois. Hopefully with the car preconditioning for about the last 15 minutes, it shouldn't be a problem. I'm also going to take out my little snow brush, clean off the snow, and get on the road. So all of my doors are frozen except the back passenger door. And it's been at least a half hour since I've been preconditioning. The windows are still frozen shut, and so are the door handles, and I need to get on the road. So I'm gonna crawl over my seats here and get into the driver's seat. I don't feel super great driving a car whose doors are frozen shut, but Tesla does have the emergency escape latch on the front door, so if I had to get out, I probably could. And hopefully these doors will warm up and unfreeze as I continue my drive for the rest of the afternoon. So let's see if I can crawl over my beautiful white interior without mucking it up. Success! So I'm driving down the highway in Iowa City, and I'm going to supercharge because my destination trip planner says I should be able to arrive in Des Moines with 6% charge, and I don't really like that. When I got in the driver's seat, I did try to open the door, but the door wouldn't open because it was frozen, but it looks like it opened a little bit, and now the door is open. I hear wind coming through, and I'm getting an alarm, and this is not fun. So I need to get off the highway, close this door, now that apparently it has thawed open. Good times, Tesla, good times. This is very unfun. I'm in an intersection and the car is telling me the driver's side door is open and I've used the manual release, which I did not do. It was not letting me drive because it was saying the door's open. So I just opened it and closed it, opened it and closed it, and the window's still not dropping down. It looks like it's still frozen. It looks like I'm in drive now. I'm gonna go supercharge and hopefully this window can chill out and warm up. So I'm at the supercharger now in Iowa City because I'm at 68% and I started yesterday at 90%. So this car has chewed through a ton of range just going 5 miles, heating up and all the rest of it. So I'm gonna top back up so I can try to make it as far through Iowa today as possible. I have a feeling today is gonna be a very, very slow travel day. Look, the window thawed out and dropped down. I can finally open the door and get out and charge and close that door without worrying about breaking the window. Tesla, I hope the next generation Model Y gets rid of this frameless window design. I'm all charged up and Tesla's showing me that I have 293 miles range estimated in my battery. Now, I know to ignore the miles remaining number that Tesla gives me. I think if I can do 2 miles per kilowatt, I'll probably have a good 130 miles in the battery based on where I think my battery is today and what my efficiency is going to be. So I'm going to make it to Des Moines. It's probably going to be driving about 55 miles an hour today instead of 70, which is the typical speed limit. So it's going to be slow going. I'm going to keep the speed down, try to keep it safe, and see how far I can get. I had to pull over because I couldn't see through my windshield. The defroster just is not strong enough to keep up. So I pulled over. I'm letting the windshield warm up. And I'm going to get back on the road. I'm about 40 miles from Des Moines. I tell ya, not a fun drive today. This snowstorm that was supposed to be 1 to 3 inches in Iowa City and then maybe 3 to 6 in Des Moines ended up being a 15-inch blizzard, and road conditions are just a disaster. So I decided, instead of trying to make it all the way out to Omaha, that I would just get a hotel room right here. And I'm gonna just hang out here, and then hopefully roads will be in better shape tomorrow. There is an EV charger here, 2 of them, no less. And it's a little bit snowy. It looks a little icy. That doesn't look good for the morning. So I got a shovel from the hotel, and I'm gonna shovel that out before I park in there. I'm gonna clean my windshield because no doubt it's gonna freeze overnight, and probably my doors are gonna freeze shut again. But I am going to plug in. I'm going to charge up to about 100% in the morning and try to make my way out. But this is how it happens in wintertime, and those wheels I've got on my car are not doing well on these icy roads. So I'm just going to hang tight for the night. The hotel here in Des Moines has a Tesla plug charger, and now let's see if this bad boy works. Oh, crud. Nothing happened when I plugged it in, and when I look at the charger, there appears to be an on-off switch, a breaker, whatever it is. It seems a little frozen, but I'm going to see if I can flip it. I have unplugged the charger, and I will see if that turns on the electricity. That appeared to do something. There is a green light on. I'm going to let it sit for a minute or two. Okay, let's try this one more time. Good morning from day 3. Here's to hoping day 3 goes a whole lot easier than day 2. Yesterday afternoon, I did end up cleaning the ice out of my wheel wells, and I cleaned off the headlamps and the tail lamps, put the car in pristine shape, got rid of moisture around the windows so it wouldn't freeze this morning. And I also got a software update from Tesla last night that I installed. I'm really hoping it's the update that improves the performance of the heat pump. We'll find out when I'm on the road today. Also, I preconditioned the car for a full hour, so I'm hoping nothing's frozen. I'm hoping everything is in perfect working order this morning. And also, as I go farther west, I would love to make it all the way out to Wyoming. Greetings from the supercharger in windy Lincoln, Nebraska. As you can tell, there's grass on the ground behind me, and it's 48 degrees out. It's as if a heat wave has taken over the entire state. I love it. Highways are in phenomenal condition the farther west I get, and I'm driving about 70 to 80 miles an hour today. So I'm going to see if I can make it all the way to Wyoming. That's the dream. We'll see. In the meantime, let's talk about the trip details. The length of the journey was 2,127 miles, and temperatures ranged from minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Total energy consumed was 902 kilowatt hours, resulting in an average efficiency of 424 watt hours per mile. That meant in this cold weather, I had to charge on average every 90 miles. Typically, when I drive my car, I get about 290 watt hours per mile, and I only have to charge out on the interstates usually once every 200 miles. This all means that compared to my usual driving, this trip took 45% more energy than normal, and I had to charge more than 2 times as frequently as I normally do. For some context though, here's a graph of the elevation changes from Chicago on the right out to San Francisco on the left. You can see that much of it is an uphill climb. The total cost for this trip, including 4 free charges, was $244. If I costed out those 4 charges, it would be about $280. That would result in an average cost per mile of 11 cents to 13 cents. Let's take a look now at 2 other vehicles on the market of similar size for comparison. The first would be a Porsche Cayenne at 20 miles per gallon. It's actually rated around 24 miles per gallon, but I'll assume it won't get as good mileage going up that continental divide. At 20 miles per gallon, it would consume 106 gallons to cross the country, and multiplying that by $3.70 for the average cost of a premium gallon of gasoline would result in a total cost for the trip of $392. A Mazda CX-5 at 25 miles per gallon would consume 85 gallons for the same journey. Multiply that by $3.35 for the average cost of a regular gallon of gasoline, and you get a total cost of $284. Compared to these two vehicles, we can see that the average difference in cost to charge my Tesla Model Y long range with 20-inch wheels results in a savings between 1% and 28%. Now, take those numbers with a grain of salt. The reality is that the comparison here was based on a single drive across the country in really cold weather with tons of wind. The other thing that you should consider is that while there was not a major price advantage for driving electric across the country compared to that Mazda, the reality is that the amount of gasoline, if you convert those 209 kilowatt hours out to the gasoline equivalent of energy, it only works out to 26.7 gallons equivalent. That is a phenomenal fuel saving. So from an environmental point of view, taking an electric car across the country has phenomenal benefits, especially if you're fueling up in parts of the country that are powered by alternative energy. And as you can see, I finally made it to my destination of San Francisco. So let's take a look at that final leg of the trip from Wyoming all the way out to California. I'm going to show some photos and videos here while I discuss the efficiency numbers I got along that route. I did actually make it all the way out to Wyoming on day 3. So day 4 was driving from Cheyenne to Winnemucca, Nevada, and Winnemucca over the Sierra Nevada mountains in eastern California, and finally west to the Pacific Ocean, which in total was 1,168 miles. Right after leaving Cheyenne, you continue driving up the Continental Divide through the relatively small Laramie Mountains, but the colder weather and heavier crosswinds of up to 60 miles per hour chewed through my battery's range like candy. My average efficiency was 631 watt-hours per mile, which is terrible. No doubt gasoline vehicles were also being similarly spanked. And that efficiency can be converted to 53 miles per gallon equivalent compared to my usual 116 miles per gallon, resulting in a total range on a 100% 71 kilowatt-hour charge of 112 miles. Not good. But the great news with electric cars and mountains is that you get regen going down the back side, so I was able to get a decent amount of miles back into the battery. And based on how many superchargers there are along this route, it's clear Tesla recognizes how intense this section of I-80 is. And I'll mention, if any of you are like me and can't stand it when your car looks like a rolling dirt clod, which the Midwest is guaranteed to turn it into, there's a contactless car wash in Rawling, Wyoming, basically across the street from the supercharger. It doesn't have any fans or blowers to dry your car dry, but it's so windy in Wyoming anyways, you don't need one. Also, the great news regarding the heat pump. It appears that the software push from Tesla that I got 2 nights before resulted in great performance of my heater when temperatures were between 15 degrees Fahrenheit and freezing the morning before. Now back on the interstate, I drove down the mountains east of Salt Lake City where I stopped for a nice little photo shoot of my beloved Blue Lightning. So beautiful. Salt Lake City to the Nevada border is flat, flat, flat. An average efficiency was definitely better at 391 watt-hours per mile, or 182 miles on a full charge at 30 degrees Fahrenheit. A nice improvement, but still not amazing considering there wasn't much wind. Then the rest of the drive to the Reno supercharger and over the Sierra Nevada mountains was super easy. Winds were light, the temperature ranged from 40 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, and regen down the western slopes of the Sierra was phenomenal. In fact, I was able to average between 65 and 70 miles per hour, make it over a major mountain range, and get all the way down to Davis, west of Sacramento, averaging 232 watt-hours per mile, which works out to about a 306-mile range on a 100% charge. The drive from Davis all the way out to San Francisco was a little less efficient, but totally normal at 311 watt-hours per mile, which is a more common 230-mile range. So what's the main takeaway from this video? If you want to drive across the United States in winter in an electric car, and a Tesla Model Y in particular, you can do it. Just expect that really cold and really windy weather going up that Continental Divide is going to require that you charge a lot, make a lot of stops, and you need to be flexible with your schedule, but you can absolutely do it. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and have a great day.